When a kind soul is betrayed by his only friend, vengeance becomes his singular purpose. That's the story of Elden, a synthetic construct created by Wayland Yutani. After his friend Francis Lane injects him with black goo on LV-223, Elden undergoes a grotesque mutation, transforming into a powerful, violent beast with jaws in his abdomen and the ability to infect others. In this video, we'll dive into 9 issues of the Fire and Stone comic series to explore Elden's tragic journey and his epic, bloody end. Now, it's important to note that I'll try my best to explore his anatomy and abilities while simultaneously telling you the story. I guess it's important to give you a bit of an introduction and what's going on here, because in order to understand Elden's anatomy and abilities, it's important to have a bit of a background. I'm hoping that you like this approach. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Elden? Now, in Ridley Scott's Prometheus, archaeologist Elizabeth Shaw discovered a star map she believed would lead her to humanity's creators. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned for her or the others who followed, including Wayland himself. Before the main story of Prometheus, Fire and Stone kicks off, we get a glimpse of the year 2090, where a probe lands on the harsh, barren moon LV-223. However, the probe is soon crushed underfoot by an engineer. Fast forward to the year 2219, and we find an engine core vehicle named Geryon approaching LV-223. The vehicle carries 3 different ships: the salvage vessel Cadmos, the patrol ship Perseus, and the command ship Helios, led by Captain Angela Foster. Clara Atkinson, a documentarian, has just awoken from a 2-year cryosleep. She begins recording events on the ship using a flying parameter uplink spectrograph, aka PUPS, an automated orb-shaped 3D mapping device. The mission is a salvage operation, which Captain Angela believes will be highly valuable for everyone involved. We land, we salvage, we go home, get rich, and eat better food, she optimistically says. Clara leaves her captain to her less than appetizing swamp grass chicken substitute and moves on to introduce the other members of Helios. We meet Dr. James Weddle, who casually mentions waking up early to check on Clara's exquisite body. Yeah, not at all a pervy thing to say. Next, we're introduced to Francis Lane, the astrobiologist working for Wayland Yutani. Every mission needs an astrobiologist because the company can't afford to miss any opportunity to learn about alien life forms. Francis also serves as a doctor for constructs and synthetics, and we learn that his most trusted individual in the godforsaken alien universe is a construct named Elden. How do we know this? Francis shares a secret with Elden that no one else knows. We don't talk about your medical condition, Francis, not to anyone. It turns out that Francis's condition is worsening rapidly, and he's desperately searching for a cure. It's now January 14th, 2219, with touchdown on LV-223 less than 3 hours away. We then meet Galgo Helder, the chief security officer, a man who loves friendly banter and storytelling, but is also highly competent at his job. Soon, Captain Angela Foster reveals a secret she's been keeping from the crew. She had told them it was a low-risk, high-value salvage mission, but her real goal was to complete the mission Peter Wayland had started. He came here on a mission, but he never came back. I want to know why. I want to salvage Wayland's mission. Angela wasn't just after Wayland's truth on LV-223, she was after the truth behind humanity itself. When the crew landed on LV-223, they were stunned. Instead of the barren, desolate moon they expected, they found a lush rainforest teeming with alien flora and fauna. It didn't take long for them to discover the horrors hidden within. The crew encountered a monkey-like creature. Far from the cuddly Earth variety, it was a grotesque monstrosity. Realizing the moon was teeming with life, they informed Francis, but Captain Angela remained focused on finding the salvage site. As they ventured deeper into the jungle, they stumbled upon a grotesque scene, a killing field where terrifying creatures had been slaughtered, not for food, but seemingly for sport. Meanwhile, Elden and Francis discovered a lake of black goo, the very substance used by the engineers to mutate and spread life. Francis was fascinated, exclaiming, "It doesn't just have a genetic makeup, it has every genetic makeup. Some I don't even recognize, but others are very terrestrial, and it's aggressive, churning. If you've watched Alien Romulus, you know what kind of mutations a single vial of this stuff can do. Despite Elden's warnings, Francis insisted on taking a sample, hoping it might hold the cure he desperately needed. You're smart enough to know I need a miracle. The intensive regrowth possibilities of this liquid are way beyond stem cell farming. So, that miracle? Maybe I found it, said Francis. As they continued, the crew discovered a crashed ship from Hadley's Hope, an outpost that was supposed to be on LV-426. But what was it doing on LV-223? Determined to find answers, Captain Angela decided to unlock one of the doors. Unbeknownst to her, a horde of xenomorphs was lying in wait, ready to unleash their deadly wrath. How does Elden get mutated? A lot of deaths and a school of black goo-infected murderous fish later, we hear that the crew hear from Elden and Francis, who had gone missing for a while now. The two of them discovered a cave where a man named Derek Russell from the Onager mining vessel had been living. Inside, they found a treasure trove of universe-altering notes and a probe from an earlier crash. It turned out that an engineer ship had crashed on LV-223, spilling the black goo and transforming the barren moon into a place teeming with strange life in just over a century. Angela set out with a few others to find and rescue Francis and Elden, but they couldn't land their ship near them, so they continued on foot. Meanwhile, an ominous panel revealed an engineer lurking in the jungle. Francis tried to reassure a frightened Elden that they would be rescued soon, but they failed to notice 3 open ovomorphs nearby. Knowing they would need to leave the cave as soon as Angela arrived, Francis urged Elden to focus on the research. This man's writings are revelatory. This could change the universe, he said. Elden expressed concern about the danger, but Francis was determined. He explained that while the black goo acts as an accelerant, causing heightened aggression and horrific mutations, it could possibly be tamed. He hinted that mixing the goo with something like a construct's engineered blood could lead to exceptional healing properties, even growing limbs or treating cancer, the disease slowly killing him. Francis was preparing to inject Elden with the black goo. Despite Elden's fear, Francis assured him he would only use a drop. However, Francis betrayed his trust and injected the entire syringe. Oh, Francis, you lying piece of shit. Needless to say, the said injection caused an immediate and violent mutation in Elden. His veins turned black, and the goo quickly reached his brain, or head, or whatever controlled his synthetic body. That's how Elden got infected with the black goo, and that's how his mutation began. Angela and her team were only 10 minutes away, but Elden's mutation had driven him to madness. He had changed into something far more intelligent and sinister. Francis managed to escape the cave, but Elden quickly caught up to him. Elden, now fully aware of his transformation, confronted Francis, saying, "I was wrong to be your friend, wrong to keep your secrets, wrong to trust you. But I feel smarter now, smart enough to know the truth. Even in this infinite universe, there's nowhere to run, Francis." Meanwhile, Angela led the search and rescue team, carrying a canister of black goo. She knew its value surpassed anything else she could salvage. Back on the Helios, the crew faced a brutal attack from 6 xenomorphs. Hearing the distress call, Angela decided their new mission was to save Helios. However, as they turned back, they were attacked by an alien monkey, which destroyed Galgo's helmet and left him scarred. Galgo managed to kill the creature with an engineer weapon he'd found, but the group soon encountered a fast-moving humanoid creature, Francis. When Francis confessed what he'd done to Elden, Angela had him arrested for violating the code. Francis dismissed the severity of his actions, saying, "What? He's just a construct." Angela, however, rebuked him. "He was a member of our crew. He trusted you, and now we can't." End of story. With Elden now beyond saving, Angela's priority was to get back to the Helios and escape LV-223. But first, the xenomorphs had to be dealt with. She devised a plan to use a surveyor vehicle as bait to lure them away from the ship. On their way back, Galgo spotted a towering humanoid figure piling up dead xenomorphs, but wisely chose not to engage. Can he control the Xenomorphs? Well, yes. Upon reaching Helios, the crew discovered it was in far worse condition than they had anticipated. Soon they saw Elden, now grotesquely mutated, almost unrecognizable, walking toward the ship. But you know what? This wasn't even the beginning of what Elden would go on to become. He casually approached the door and, addressing the Xenomorphs, said, "Are you having trouble with the doors? Here, let me open this for you." With that, Elden opened the gates of hell for the crew of Helios. Angela's plan had partially succeeded as Galgo managed to reach Perseus, but she didn't foresee the betrayal that followed. When Angela asked for an ETA, Galgo coldly replied, "We're in flight already. We can see this stretch of LV-223 and those creatures are everywhere. Good luck down there and goodbye." Issue 4 of Prometheus, Fire and Stone begins with Elden and his deadly pets entering Helios. Just then, an announcement goes off warning the crew members not to engage Elden or the creature. However, one smartass and reasonably scared crew member fires at Elden, but to no avail. The Xenomorphs slay him without wasting a moment. The crew members had been advised to collect whatever armament they could and rendezvous at the alien crash site, but the Xenomorphs spare nearly no one, of course, on Elden's order. In fact, in Alien vs. Predator, Fire and Stone Issue 1, Elden once again speaks to the Xenomorphs and says, "Everyone's so eager. We'll all get what we want. Enough blood for everyone." So yeah, Elden can pretty much communicate and control Xenomorphs, much like a queen does. But why was it so? Well, if you ask me, I believe Elden is able to control these biomechanical monsters because of the immense amount of black goo within him. You see, this substance is also present within Xenomorphs, which we learnt from Alien Romulus, and it's also something that Xenomorph Praetorians use to transform into alien queens. It is highly possible that Xenomorphs sniff the black goo in each other. What does he look like in his final form? Now, Galgo and his crew were planning to enter a 2-year cryosleep on their way back to Earth, dreaming of the riches they would gain by taking credit for Galgo's engineer weapon. However, their plans come to a screeching halt when Elden, now a grotesquely mutated version of himself, makes his presence known. Elden had taken control of the command ship Helios, which could command Geryon and any other ship connected to it. He had grown 4 arms, looked like his white synthetic blood had turned into white flesh, but there was also a mix of red. He had lost all his hair, and it seems like there was nothing mechanical about him. Through the radio, Elden taunts them, saying, "I could shut off your oxygen, I could open all the hatches and crush you like tin cans, I could drown your men in their cryotubes." This means that he could still control technology. When Galgo asks what Elden wants, he coldly replies, "You have the only thing I want, Francis." But Francis, knowing the danger Elden posed, desperately tries to convince Galgo not to give him up, knowing that Elden, driven mad by his mutations, would spare no one. Elden, now more monster than construct, was responsible for countless deaths back on LV-223, and was hungry for more. His mind, twisted by the black goo that had transformed him, was bent on chaos and bloodshed. As Elden advances, he orders his Xenomorphs to hold back until he gets what he wants. He approaches the door separating him from Francis and Galgo, warning Galgo to keep his distance. "Do not forget how dangerous I am." Just as Elden is about to seize Francis, a breach alarm sounds. Elden, thinking it's a trick, soon realizes it's something far worse. Predators had boarded Geryon. Elden, now an abomination of flesh and metal, was evolving rapidly. His mutated form, a product of ancient, powerful substances, granted him the ability to bring new life wherever he went. But now, another ancient force had arrived. As the Yautja made their presence known, the Xenomorphs that Elden had brought with him began slaughtering everything in sight. Elden, now a towering and terrifying figure, was in relentless pursuit of Francis. Meanwhile, Galgo, having fled Geryon aboard Perseus, remained unaware that a predator had stowed away on his ship. Back on Geryon, Elden and his brood of Xenomorphs found themselves surrounded by the Yautjas, setting the stage for an epic showdown. Elden's mutated form, monstrous and ever-evolving, was now pitted against some of the universe's most fearsome hunters. Does he have regenerating ability? Could he develop impossible body parts? Elden's regenerative abilities were put to the test when one of the predators shot him with a plasma caster, creating a massive hole in his abdomen. Remarkably, Elden regenerated almost instantly, showing no signs of pain. He even expressed a twisted gratitude, saying, "I don't know what you are or where you came from, but thank you. I've been harboring a lot of rage lately. Now I get to let it out." This ability to heal so rapidly made him a formidable opponent, as the predators soon discovered. As the predators flanked him, attacking from all sides with their combi sticks, Elden continued to regenerate and fight back without missing a beat. In a grotesque twist, Elden's stomach transformed into a mouth filled with sharp teeth, which bit one of the predators that had grabbed him from behind, a development even Elden hadn't anticipated. Despite the onslaught, he remained focused and deadly, tearing apart one of the predators by wrenching its jaws open with his bare hands. The battle with the predators only seemed to fuel Elden's rage and power. His ability to regenerate made him nearly unstoppable, and he began to see himself as something far beyond the creatures he was fighting. When only one predator was left standing, it honored Elden as a warrior worthy of being blooded by Xenomorph blood. However, Elden, now seeing himself as superior to both humans and predators, dismissed the ritual, stating, "I became alive. I became something else, something better." He walked away, leaving the last predator unharmed. He has the ability to mutate any Yautja. One of the predators that had been bitten by Elden mutated into a monstrous version of itself, developing dark eyes, extra mandibles, and a cannibalistic nature. This mutated predator became even stronger and larger, brutally attacking its own kind. The Yautja transformed into a hulking monster that hardly looked anything like his own kind. He grew 10 mandibles instead of 4 and developed black eyes. Moreover, he could now break through the skulls of other Yautjas by his skull and gains so much power that he can rip off the arms of his kind. Furthermore, he grew an extra arm from his left shoulder. The mutation had transformed his psyche as well, and he has now developed cannibalistic tendencies, as revealed in one of the sequences when he eats the corpse of a Yautja he killed. Interestingly, the mutated Yautja has a biohelmet with a jawbone like the berserker predator, and has grown unusually tall, resembling an upgrade predator in height. The mutated Yautja was once blooded and respected by his people, but turned rogue and excessively violent towards everyone, including his kind. Is he more powerful than xenomorphs? As Elden continued his pursuit of Francis, the tables turned in a tragic irony. Francis, desperate to survive, infected himself with the black goo that Elden had been leaving behind, hoping it would cure his terminal cancer. To his surprise, the combination of Elden's biology with the black goo didn't destroy him, but enhanced him. However, Francis's newfound strength was short-lived, as he soon found himself at the mercy of a predator's blade. In a final twist, the xenomorphs, whom Elden had brought along as allies, turned on him, leaving him to face his enemies alone. Despite his incredible regenerative abilities, Elden's journey ended in loneliness and betrayal, abandoned by the very creatures he thought he could control. The xenomorphs launched a scathing attack on Elden. He had begun to think that they understood him and that they were friends, but he didn't watch any of the Alien movies, did he? These bastards are no one's friend. All they know is killing others. But Elden was not going to give up that easily, and he was going to put up a fight that was unrepeatable. Elden fights the xenomorphs who are charging at him from all corners. One of the xenomorphs severed Elden's fingers, but as was expected, they regenerated. Despite everything that Elden was doing, he was visibly overpowered by the xenomorphs. However, a predator came to his help. The last standing predator attacked Elden with his disc. It stuck right into his chest, but Elden saw it as help from the predator. He took the disc and started massacring the xenomorphs. Had the predator not helped Elden, we don't know what his fate would have been like. Does he have conscious emotions? After returning the disc to the predator, Elden made his way to the infirmary, only to be attacked by other constructs acting on Francis's orders. They managed to trap Elden in a cage just long enough for Francis to extract some of Elden's bodily fluids into a syringe. By this point, Elden had let go of his rage and anger toward Francis. He tried to warn him, saying, "Don't, Francis, it's not what you think it is. It's too big for you. It will kill you." Elden had come to understand that while his machine machine body could handle the black goo, Francis's fragile, sickly human form was not equipped to bear the consequences of injecting it. But despite the warning, Francis went through with the injection and quickly mutated into a grotesque monstrosity before fleeing the scene, his theory having been turned into a personal disaster. But things only got worse for Elden. He was suddenly attacked by the Predator, who now saw Elden for what he truly was. In his grief and despair, Elden lamented, "He pretended to be my friend to put that poison inside me. You marked me only to betray me." It was a moment of profound realization for Elden, who had failed once again to accurately judge those around him. As Francis escaped after breaking out of his chamber, the mutated Predator, now a monstrous creation of Elden's own making, entered the scene, adding to Elden's growing sense of betrayal and sorrow. So you see, Elden was doing the same things a human would do. He was trying to help his old friend and was also making mistakes in judging those around him. Elden was seriously confused about how the universe and its denizens worked. All he wanted to know was the reason everything was happening and why people and aliens did what they did. You see, he had been a construct since always. He never really had any thoughts in his mind, but now he was alive and conscious. But this was turning out to be more than he could take. Is Elden stronger than predators? Elden's battle with the Predator was intense. While the Predator relied on his advanced weaponry, Elden used his sheer brute force and multiple limbs to counter every attack. The Predator flung his discs at Elden, who dodged them effortlessly. When the Predator plunged his combi stick into Elden's stomach, Elden simply removed it and was on the verge of killing the Predator. However, before he could strike the final blow, Xenomorphs arrived, shifting the battle's dynamics. Instead of killing the Predator, Elden chose to help him fight off the Xenomorphs. His decision was driven by a deep need for companionship, hoping to find a friend in the Predator. He pleaded, "We're better than this, aren't we? Let me save you. Let me save someone to explain, to share with." But the Predator, true to his nature, attacked Elden and the Xenomorph he was holding. The Xenomorph evaporated, its acidic blood eating through the ship's floor and creating a dangerous pressure difference. Elden's power was further demonstrated when he traveled through the vacuum of space to reach Francis, a feat that highlighted his incredible durability, as no living being could survive such conditions. Once he found Francis, they joined forces to defeat the mutated Predator, each grabbing one of its arms and severing them. In the end, while Francis melted away, leaving Elden alone in the universe, it became clear that Elden had surpassed the Predator in power. However, his victory was bittersweet, as Elden was now immortal, doomed to live forever without anyone to share his existence with, holding only Francis's parting advice to live forever and do something with his immortal life. In the end, Elden merged with the moon, which had come to life. Yep, you heard it right. It seems that he did not indeed die in the end, but lived on as a part of an entire celestial body that had come to life. He really did listen to the last piece of advice given to him by his friend Francis. Can he reproduce? Is there any female Elden? Initially, Elden was originally envisioned as a female synthetic named Eldena. After being mutated by the black liquid, Eldena was intended to become pregnant with synthetic facehuggers, eventually giving birth to these robotic creatures. When these synthetic facehuggers would impregnate a host, the result would have been metallic, machine-like xenomorphs. So yeah, I'm pretty glad that they didn't go down this path and stuck with Elden. That was all in this one. You might want to stick around because we have tons of alien videos lined up. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.